I've seen and experienced a lot over the last 7 decades in my career. I've met many interesting people, performed over 25,000 shows, and yes, even tuned in on the thoughts in the minds of over 1 million. But then, who's counting? Now, I'm telling you what really happened. Welcome to Kreskin's Amazing Experiences. This is Kreskin, folks, and it's a continuation of Kreskin's Amazing Experiences. I'm going to relate to you, I'm going to tell you something that very few people know about. And when I complete this anecdote in my life, I'm going to be honest with you and just mention that I have no explanation of how in the world this took place. When I think about it, I become perplexed and very, very reflective. It was years ago. I was in my late teens, perhaps early 20s, and for some reason, I did not have my road manager with me, who would travel on different tours and what have you. There may have been some crisis in his family or some illness or what have you. But I'm home to begin with. This is the night before, and I went to bed at a normal hour. Not the 3 or 4 in the morning that's more common with me, but I went fairly early because I had to get a flight out the next day. Ironically, I overslept. And I wasn't particularly tired. I go to bed late at night, and I had gone to bed early. I got up, cleaned up, had my breakfast, what have you, and because I had no road manager, no one to drive me or join me, I got out of the house and got into my car, and I drove on. Ironically, and folks, this perplexes me, I decided to go on a detour route. A detour route? My God, we've driven to Newark Airport. It was not far from Caldwell, New Jersey. For years, I knew the route like the back of my hand. But I decided to go on a detour for reasons I can't quite figure out. When we went, I say we because I was always used to dealing with someone, when I went to the airport, it was the old airport. You didn't go through security very often, I guess when it was a larger flight, but I was simply flying from New Jersey to a small town in New York State. It was only going to take a couple of hours. And I now am walking through the airport, not going through security. When I got to my counter, they recognized me immediately because there were days when I would be at the counter every other day, flying out. They said, Kreskin, where are you going today? I said, such and such. They said, yeah, looks like you're going to have a connecting flight. I said, that I assumed, but the whole trip was only going to take me 2.5 hours. They said, you better hurry, Kreskin. And I gave them my luggage. We went through I think I filled out something, what have you. They said, Kreskin, you better hurry to the gate. And I didn't go through any security at all. In those days, it wasn't necessary, and they all knew me. I hurried to the gate, got to it, looked outside in time to see my plane taking off. I wondered in the same moment, was my luggage on the plane? Because obviously I was not going on the route that has been planned me. I got back to the counter. They said, Kreskin, we realized you'd gotten here later than normal before a flight. You're usually here much earlier, and you missed your flight. Your luggage is on that flight, but we have 2 flights you can take. The first will land in the same airport the first is landing in, but not at the same time, and then you'll continue on to your destination. I was very upset with myself. It is the first time And the only time in my career I have ever, because of my own fault, missed a flight. I never have missed a flight in my life. There have been other situations that detained me, delayed me, but this is the only one. Well, I got on the flight they had prepared for me. No luggage except my attaché case, which stays by me wherever I travel around the world. And I landed in the same town that I had to connect in. Didn't get out of the plane because they had me on another flight, but it turns out it was going to be the same flight itself. I stayed in the plane and took off and flew to my destination. It was not the happiest outlook, but I could live with it. It's just that I wasn't going to be dressed properly in my tuxedo, the outfits that I wear when I'm appearing in public and what have you. And some of the material that I sometimes allude to in a performance was on my luggage that was on the other plane. So I had no clothes, no new clothes, and I was destined to board with what I was wearing. People were very warm. Before I got on stage, it was a nightclub in the town, and it turns out the show was sold out. It turns out also that my introduction was no longer in the hands of the person who was going to introduce me, who would put it in a machine, what have you, because that was on the luggage that was run through. So I gave them a written introduction, and the gentleman proceeded to read it on a microphone off stage. As he is reading it, and I'm ready to go on, because to me it doesn't matter how I'm dressed. I like to be dressed special, but it's the show that's the important thing and my communication with my audience. But as he is reading it, there's a knock on my dressing room door. I thought, this is crazy. A knock now? Why would they be calling me? They know I'm going on stage at this very moment. They all know working here that I'm going on stage. I thought, since they're shaking the door and knocking it, I better check. I went to the door, I opened it. And what do I see? I see two police officers. I'm thinking, what in God's name is going on? They said, "You're Kreskin, aren't you, sir?" I said, "Yes, I am. I'm getting ready to go on." They said, "Well, Kreskin, we drove here. We felt that you would want this. This is your luggage. And the way we found out where you were appearing here in New York State, because we're not from this part of New York State, is we called the address on your luggage. They told us where you were appearing, and we brought the luggage here." I said, "Brought the luggage here?" They said, "Yes, Kreskin. The flight you were taking crashed in a cow pasture in New York State. We don't know who survived, but we felt very much that you would appreciate your having the luggage." I want to tell you folks something. When I went on stage that evening, it was one of the most dramatic walk-ons I ever did in my life, and you could hear a pin drop for the next 5 minutes as I recounted an experience, the fact that I had missed a flight, the fact I had to take another flight. And the bottom line is, folks, I had no idea why that happened. So all that I do is not clearly answered in what I know about my work.